Hi everybody, I hope you guys are doing well. It is Wednesday today. Today we are moving on to the next lesson of the module. So I've had a couple of people email me with questions about the quiz that we took last week and how you guys can get your grades up, because there was a couple of low scores on the quiz. So those of you that have asked, I did make an announcement about this on Canvas earlier this week. But if you would like to make corrections on your Module 11 quiz, I will allow you to do that. All you need to do is you need to go back to the quiz, make corrections on the ones that you missed, make sure to show all your work. You can do this on a separate piece of paper and then take a picture of your work and email it to me, or you can do all of your work in an email and email that to me if you want. But your work needs to be shown, and then the correct answer needs to be shown as well. If you do that, I'll give you partial credit on your quiz, which should help bring some of your grades back up. Okay, so that's an option if you want to make use of that. Some of you may, some of you might not do that, but if you do, I want to make that option available for you. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and jump into the second lesson here. Our objective for this lesson is to test the converse of the Pythagorean theorem and use it to solve problems. Okay, so on Monday's lesson we talked about the Pythagorean theorem, and we said that it is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, right? Where a and b are both the legs of a right triangle, and then c is the diagonal, the hypotenuse of a right triangle. Okay, so we can use this formula then to kind of find any one of those three missing sides that might be in that right triangle. Okay, now today we are testing the converse of the Pythagorean theorem. So since we know that the Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, the converse of the Pythagorean theorem states that if a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then the triangle is a right triangle. So basically, if we have a problem that gives us three sides of a right triangle, we should be able to plug those three sides into this formula, and if we end up with a true statement, then we know that it's a right triangle. Okay, so let's go through a couple of examples of that. Here we've got this table. It says verify that the following sets of lengths make the equation a squared plus b squared equals c squared true. And then it says record your results in the table. So here for this first example, we've got 3, 4, and 5. Now one thing you should always know is that the biggest side length, in this case 5, the biggest side length is always the hypotenuse, c. Okay, so we've got 3, 4, and 5. 3 and 4 are a and b, so all we need to do is we just need to plug these sides into our Pythagorean theorem. So we're going to do 3 squared, 3 is a, so it goes in for a, plus b squared, which is 4, so 4 squared, equals 5 squared, like so. Okay, 3 squared, well that's 9. 4 squared is 16, and 5 squared is 25. So what we need to do is we need to ask ourselves, what's 9 plus 16? Well, 9 plus 16 is 25. So does 25 equal 25? Of course it does. So we put a little check mark right there because we get a true statement because 25 is equal to 25. So it says, is a squared plus b squared plus c squared equals true? We get a true statement, so yes, it's true. Since this is a true statement, yes, this makes a right triangle. Okay? All right, let's go through the rest of these examples then. Let me erase this stuff. Okay, just so we have some room to write. Here, 5, 12, and 13 are the sides of our next triangle. So I want to plug them into the Pythagorean theorem. So 5 will go in for a. So 5 is a, so 5 squared, well that's 25. Then b squared is 12, so 12 squared, 12 times 12 is 144, equals 13 squared. 13 squared is 169. Okay, then we need to add 25 plus 144. Well, 25 plus 144 is 169. And we know that 169 is in fact equal to 169. So yes, this is a true statement. And that makes yes, this is a right triangle. Okay. Next one, we've got 3 more sides, 7, 24, and 25. So 7 squared is 49. 24 squared, that's a big number, so we may need to use a calculator for this. So let's go ahead and plug in this into our calculator. So 24 squared is 576. So we're going to go ahead and write plus 576 here. And then we want c squared, so 25 squared, well that's 625. I actually know that one without having to plug it in. So next, we're going to combine these. So 49 plus 576, that is in fact 625. And 625 is equal to 625. So yes, this is a true statement. And yes, since it's a true statement, it is a right triangle. Okay, let's go ahead and erase some of this stuff to make room. 8 squared, we'll do this next one. 8 squared is 64. 15 squared, well that one is 225. And then we need 17 squared. Let's go ahead and plug that one in. 17 squared is 289. Okay, now we want 64 plus 225, so let's go ahead and plug that in. 64 plus 225 is equal to 289. So 289 on this side is equal to 289. We get a true statement, so yes, this is a right triangle as well. And then this last one, 20 squared is 400. 21 squared, let's go ahead and plug that one into the calculator. 21 squared is 441. 441. And then 29 squared is 841. 400 plus 441 is equal to 881. Sorry, not 881, 841. Let me erase this real quick. 841 equals 841. We get another true statement. So yes, this is a right triangle. So by doing all this work, we found out that every single one of these pairs of, or trios of sides all equal a right triangle. If any of these were a false statement, that means that they do not form a right triangle. Okay, and we'll see an example of that here in a second. All right, so here it says tell whether each triangle with the given side lengths is a right triangle. So here we've got a triangle with sides 9, 40, and 41. Okay, so we want to plug this into our Pythagorean theorem. If we get a true statement, that means it's a right triangle. So here, let's make 9. First, we need to figure out which one is C. Well, we already talked about how C is the hypotenuse, and the hypotenuse is always the longest side. The longest side is 41, so 41 is going to be our hypotenuse. Okay, so we're going to take 9 squared plus 40 squared and set it equal to our hypotenuse of 41 squared. Okay, 9 squared we should know is 81. 40 squared is 1600. And then 41 squared, let's go ahead and plug that in and see what we get. 41 squared is 1681. Okay, let's add these two together now. 81 plus 1600 is 1681, which is equal to 1681. So we get a true statement, which means that yes, this is a right triangle. Okay, let's look at this next example here then. It says tell whether each triangle with the given side lengths is a right triangle. Here we've got 8, 10, and 12. Again, we need to think which side is our right, or is our hypotenuse. What's the longest side, which is 12. So 12 is going to be C. We'll make 8A and 10B. Okay, so 8 squared plus 10 squared equals 12 squared. Okay, so first, 8 squared. 8 squared is 64. Plus 10 squared. 10 squared is 100. Equals 12 squared. 12 squared is 144. Now we'll add up our first two, a squared and b squared. 64 plus 100 is 164 equals 144. So we got to think, is 164 equal to 144? No, it's not. So we get a false statement here. Since we get a false statement, this is not a right triangle. Okay? This could be a triangle, it's just not a right triangle because it doesn't qualify with the Pythagorean theorem. Okay? So what I want you to do is I want you to take some time and I want you to work out these 4 problems right here. Okay? I want you to see if you can figure out if each of these side lengths could form a right triangle. Plug them into the Pythagorean theorem and see what you get. Go ahead and pause the video now and then unpause it when you're done and I'll show you the answers. Okay, so hopefully you had some time to work out these problems. Our first example here, we've got 14 squared plus 23 squared equals 25 squared. Okay, our hypotenuse has to be 25 because it's the longest side, so that's going to be C. 23 we'll call B, and then 14 will be A. So we want 14 squared. Okay, let's do 14 squared first. That's 196. Plus 23 squared. That's 529. And then 25 squared, we actually did that earlier, that's equal to 625. Now we need 196 plus 529. So 196 plus 529 is equal to 725. 725 is not equal to 625. So this first one is not a right triangle. Okay, let's go ahead and do, let's say 3 then here. So we want, again, this 16 is going to be our A, 30 is our B, 34 is our longest side, so that's going to be our C. So 16 squared is 256. So 256 plus 30 squared is 900. Equals 34 squared. 34 squared is 1156. Now we need to add 256 plus 900. 256 plus 900 is 1156. So 1156 is in fact equal to 1156. We got a check mark there. So yes, this is a right triangle. Okay. To save time, we're going to go ahead and skip 4 and 5. Hopefully you did those on your own. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to the next question. Here, Katja is buying edging for a triangular flower garden she plans to build in her backyard. If the lengths of the 3 pieces of edging that she purchases are 13 feet, 10 feet, and 7 feet, will the flower garden be in the shape of a right triangle? So we want to know if these 3 sides can be the shape of a right triangle for her garden. Now you might be tempted to just do 13 squared plus 10 squared equals 7 squared, since that's the order that they're in. But remember, the hypotenuse, C, should always be the longest side, which is 13. Okay, so we're actually going to do 10 squared plus 7 squared equals 13 squared. Okay, 10 squared is 100, 7 squared is 49, 13 squared is 169. Okay, 100 plus 49 is 149. Is that equal to 169? No, it is not. Okay, so no, this would not be in the shape of a right triangle. Okay, so hopefully this makes sense for you. Your assignment is on your HRW. It's the 12.2 homework that's posted on there. After you're done with this video, if you want to rewatch it, if you missed anything, if you still have questions, you can feel free to rewatch this. You can go ahead and get started on your homework. That will be due on Friday. Remember, we don't have any e-learning on Tuesdays or Thursdays, so our next e-learning day will be Friday. We'll have our next lesson over 12.3 on Friday. So your homework, make sure you get this completed on your HRW. It is assigned in there. If you have any questions over any of this stuff, you can feel free to email me at joyoder@bps.k12.in.us. Have a good day. I hope you stay safe.